That's what I view.
Well, JAMB's computer-based test failed yet again, and it's faced another technical glitch. But from your own perspective, do you think that it is time to consider sort of like a backup plan, or maybe like a hybrid system where we can use the technology and also the paper
to ensure that going forward we do not have that situation?
Now, if we say the glitches were majorly Lagos and the Southeast,
Yeah.
does it mean the failure in parts of the North also is not considered? Because like JAMB is rewriting the test today, and some persons are saying we've not gotten any notification. So why should we have this selective arrangement that, look, this particular section of the country can do the receipts, while others that failed, you don't have that window open to them?
Yes, speaking academically, I would rightly say without apology that even the response of JAMB does not meet the test required for transparency, because they said it is internal review. The question is who and who were involved in the internal review. And if you look at before the publishing of the result, JAMB have done something unethical. They've already given even a breakdown of the number of failure, and they were told that over 1.5 million persons actually scored less than 200. So even the psychological trauma has already gone out. Number two is believed that before the release of the exam result, there should have been an audit. That was not done. Even when Nigerians began to give response as to the reason for the mass failure, JAMB first came and gave itself a pop rope to say it's because of the failure in the educational standard, it's because of the tightening of our system to ensure there is no fraud and malpractices. So the question is this: at what point did the narrative change? Because the results were released on the 9th, and then people said they were going to court, people began to clamor and begin to question the mass failure. Then on the 14th, they came with this approach. So we must look at all these things. Even the restorative approach that JAMB took is unilateral.
Unilateral?
Yes. They never mentioned at any point that the parents were involved in the discussions as to what remedy should be taken. There's no information whether students themselves were involved, whether society were involved, nothing like that. All we heard is JAMB is going to do this. Okay, there's not even a technical, structural remedy to the situation. All the registrar did was to tell us to praise their system and said one or two of the service providers failed. The question even is this: who procured the service provider? On what yardstick were they procured? And again, what measures will JAMB take to ensure that this never happens again? They never mention it even in the report. And again, so if I look at this, the angles I'm looking at the whole thing, we appreciate what they are doing, but it is like trying to push in a narrative after the damage has been done. Even the resitting or retaking of the exam in less than 1 week. Exactly. The question is, and I beg to differ, does the registrar himself, does he feel the pulse of the student? Does he care about the psychological damages, the trauma associated with this? I want to believe they don't care. All they care about is to save face. I thought ask ourselves, what was the budget for JAMB for the 2025 examination? How was it expended and spent? And JAMB as an institution make the first claim of tightening their system to ensure there's a decrease or decline in malpractice. Therefore, even the latest narrative is still questionable. Does JAMB not have a backup system? That's another question. And you must go beyond this, because over the years, some persons have been clamoring for the scrapping of JAMB. If you look at JAMB counterparts around the world, most of them will release the result on, because what makes it even computer-based? Let's ask JAMB that question. What makes the system CBT, computer-based test? In other parts of the world, the moment you take your exam, you see the result on the screen. We don't have that. For the ones that delay around the world, within 7 days, maximum within 14 days, you have the result. It doesn't happen. So I don't even understand the rationale why it is called computer-based system. And where is the backup? No elders road. It is not enough to cry. And I want to call it borrowed terminology that they use. When I saw one of the release on their Twitter page, where they said, God man proposes, God disposes. It's a charade, not necessary.
Going forward, do we need a state of emergency, not just in education now, concerning JAMB and to determine the future of JAMB, where every stakeholder, you just talked about the parents, the students, so it's not just a government stakeholder, it's about every person to determine the future of JAMB, especially when it comes to admissions into universities.
Yes. I initially started by saying that JAMB is a miniature of the Nigerian state. There is a culture you will observe as media experts in this country. Whenever government institutions and functionaries are at fault, nobody is punished. Whenever a citizen, a journalist is at fault or presumably at fault, you will see the vigor and the strength of the state apparatus and machinery and power descending on the individual. Let's assume, you've also seen over the years when someone is involved in emotional practices, JAMB to be on a press release, the person is arrested, is prosecuted.
And nothing.
So I believe that we must change our institutional culture first, not just about JAMB, as a nation. Number 2 is transparency. Number 3 is we must reconfigure the entire system to see a system where there's accountability, there's transparency, and there's multi-stakeholder involvement. Not just what we've seen, because if you look at even the measure that the registrar put forward, they were at the end of the press release. From the beginning, let's see. So going forward, not just for JAMB, for all the education system, we need to have possibly a national summit to discuss where are we going to, where have we come from, how do we be at par with sister nations around the world. We can't be the giant of Africa, yet we're lagging behind. We say we have the best brains in the world. That cliché of best brains only work when Nigerians go abroad.
Well, I would like to take you back to JAMB's statement where you mentioned that man disposes and God proposes or disposes. Man proposes and God disposes. This has stirred a mixed reaction among Nigerians, and it's also maybe questions the ability of these government agencies to take accountability for their own actions. Isn't it an attempt to shift blame and, play on the emotions of the Nigerians and also people involved and dodging to address the real issues?
It is, because you will understand that between the 9th and the 14th, as I mentioned earlier, some Nigerians said they were going to court. Some persons said they were going to protest. So I see the whole crisis management as stage managed. Again, they said about 380,000 candidates will retake the exam. How did they come about that number? When the record shows that over 1.5 million candidates scored below 200. So I think there should be an external audit on the entire examination system. If not, it's only face saving. And you will understand somebody's supposed to be on suspension. We're not saying sack their processes. Someone should be suspended. The JAMB registrar should be suspended. Where are those in technical to be suspended? Because what they've done right now is only trying to remedy the reputation of JAMB. But as it remedy the reputation of the examination, and as it solve this problem going forward. Because the truth is this, on whose account is the technical glitches examined and believed? Only on the account of JAMB. Nigeria is still lost until this is addressed.
So they are the judge in their own
yes,
own
and
case.
that is wrong.
Now, another question is,